Tonight is going to be a very challenging night, emotionally and spiritually, and I believe we've already come here feeling quite vulnerable after this last week. And it's natural to feel paralyzed and feel like there's nothing that we can do, but the truth is there is something we can do, something really important. In fact, two things. I'm going to ask you to do two things. So, number one, you can vote your conscience. The World Zionist Congress elections are opening on March 10th and will go through May 4th. And this election is designed for us as Jews in the diaspora to have a say in how $5 billion is allocated in Israel and will determine who represents world Jewry in the Israel national institutions, the Jewish National Fund, and the Jewish Agency. We're asking you to vote reform, which is a vote for democracy, safety, basic civil rights of gender, equality, LGBTQ rights, and Reform Judaism. So that's me getting the vote out in 2020. We'll make a new picture this year for the vote 2025. And Rabbi Josh and I, where are you, Rabbi Josh? He and I are both on the slate of delegates to go to the Congress that's convening in the fall. And I want to tell you that your vote really matters. It's not an understatement for us to say that the foundation of Israeli democracy is literally at stake. So I'm going to ask you to read your messenger. It's coming out next week, and there's lots of information in there about it. And you can sign up right now with that QR code to get a reminder to vote in the election when it opens on March 10th. So go ahead and just scan the QR code. And you also have the QR code on the card that we handed you when you came in. So take this with you. And I really want you to vote reform, which is the slate that represents our values, and tell all of your friends to vote reform too, because it really, really makes a difference. Okay, and the second thing that you can do is come back here on March 18th for an evening with Brooke Goldstein. She's coming to Temple. She's an award-winning filmmaker, human rights attorney, and founder of End Jew Hatred, and will lead us in a discussion about why fighting anti-Semitism today is so vital. She's also the founder and executive director of the Lawfare Project and leads global legal action for Jewish justice, defending students, professionals, and businesses against discrimination. She's got 150 plus cases in 14 countries. Her work has provided over $13 million in pro bono legal services, and her clients include Jewish students and professors facing anti-Semitic discrimination and harassment on campus, Jewish professionals experiencing severe and institutionalized anti-Semitic hostility in the workplace, and companies targeted with commercial discrimination in relation to BDS. Her bio goes on, and I don't need to give it to you now. Just come back here on March 18th for an amazing program. She'll be here in person. You'll have an opportunity to engage with her in a Q&A. So I really pray that stepping up to do these two tasks, to vote in the World Zionist Congress election, which you will continue to hear more about between now and May, and coming back on May 18th will help us feel less vulnerable. In fact, hopefully it will help us feel powerful as Jews in such a difficult time. So thank you for coming tonight. I think this film is going to be very powerful and engage a lot of thought and conversation. And I'd like to hand the microphone over to our cantors, Cantor Smolesh and Cantor Michaels.
Thanks. Good evening. How are you doing? Good. I wish I could start with a little joke, but this is quite a serious evening. My thanks to Deborah Messing and Wendy Sachs for letting us screen this very important film. I think it will be eye-opening for many of us and reinforce things we've seen. I think most of us in this room grew up in the 80 years since the Holocaust and are used to anti-Semitism being taboo. You're just out of the conversation if you're an anti-Semite. I think we all know there was a sea change last October. We felt it in personal ways. I felt it when my daughter had to drop a required course at University of Toronto because it included a chapter on Israel as an apartheid colonial state in a class on European colonialism, of all things. When she sat with her teacher said, although any accusation this might be anti-Semitic is unfounded, I know your fears are real, so I can discuss those. And of course, we felt it much, much more brutally as a people on the day when we saw our women being sexually abused by groups and women's rights organizations turned a blind eye. We saw it just last week most horribly when a baby and a toddler was returned to us strangled in the wrong coffins in a street festival and all the rest. And the world just seems to be fine with this and even applaud it in our own cities and our own country. So we may be in a different time. It may be, as some Jewish thinkers are saying, that honeymoon was over and now we're back to the other 2,000 years of history. And some of these voices that you'll hear, important voices, we'll share with you how this has been playing out, especially on campuses and in our country. So very important we hear these voices. I'm glad there's some younger people here tonight. Most welcome. And let's, before we start, add our voices to their important voices as we sing this prayer for our hostages. I pray personally, we pray as a people that every one of them is returned home, God willing. The ones that are alive stay alive until we have them back home with their families, every single one.
Sara uvashivia beomdim ben bayan uven bayan habasha
Hamakom yerachem aleihem v'yotziem mitzara and we say Amen. Amen. October hate.
So while the credits continue to roll, we just want to ask you to stay here a moment more. Originally, we had intended to have a conversation, and Rabbi Lader and I recognize that we've been here with a powerfully difficult message for the last couple of hours. And in Judaism, there is a process that the rabbis go through in dealing with challenging material over millennia. What they come to is what's called a nechemta. It comes from the word compassion, and it is a compassionate ending. It's something that we can come away with that is positive out of something that feels very, very negative. For me, the nechemta tonight is our course of action. It is impossible to ignore what you've seen on the screens, and it is impossible to deny that there are people who hate the Jewish people throughout history. But if we really look at the numbers, and if we really pay attention to what was said in the movie, that's a very small minority of people. And we are a very small minority of people. And in between those two small minorities is an enormous number of people who need to be influenced. I'm just going to do a quick experiment here. Raise your hands if you are not Jewish. I want everybody to take a look around. I want to say I believe that was an applause thanking you for being here, first of all. But for everybody else in the room, it is our job to share this message with the 80 or more percent who are in the middle, who are not on either extreme, who are not us, and who are not those who hate us. And that is where our success can lie. And if you follow the path of the movement of anti-Semitism, it started 20 or 30 years ago. They started by taking these messages and teaching them to others. We need to start following the same playbook and teaching our message of tolerance and faith and commitment to goodness in the world and bring people into our circle as our allies and our friends. That is what the end of this movie was suggesting. And before I hand the microphone over to Rabbi later, I will say this. In our community, we have agencies and organizations where we can stand proud as Jews. Steve Ingber is here from the Federation. I didn't see, are there any other community leaders here tonight? ADL is here. Carolyn Normandin, thank you. We have so many Jewish agencies in our community where we can stand strong. We have so many congregations where Jews can stand strong. That is where we begin, and we continue by taking our message to the others in our community who need to hear, who need to become our allies, and need to stand with us on the right side of history.
I just want to add, since Rabbi Josh got to do a rabbinic teaching, I also get to do a rabbinic teaching. It's only fair. But I want to add also that we're taught that there are blessings to be found in terrible things too. And I really appreciated what Deborah Messing said at the end of this film, which was that if these sentiments existed in our world, in our country on October 6th, then it's a good thing we know about them now. And that's a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to stand up and be strong and be inspired by these young people who are doing holy work on their college campuses, even when it's hard. You cannot imagine how difficult it is. And you should be proud that members of our community, including a member of our congregation, they're serving as student body presidents and presidents of their Hillels in this most challenging time for Jewish students in our nation's history, I believe. And that's really, really amazing. And so what I wanted to add to Rabbi Bennett's message of hope and message of the work that we have to do out there is that our work also means supporting Jewish institutions that raise our children now. That as somebody who works with our teens and our young people who are doing amazing work and are faced with these battles every single day, not only on college campuses, but high school campuses too, on their soccer teams, at their summer camps. The best, most important thing that we can do here right now in a tangible way is to support the organizations that are educating our kids, to allow them to grow into these amazing people that you saw in these videos, supporting our camps, supporting Hillels on college campuses, supporting youth groups, supporting our federated agencies, supporting all of the people doing this work right now in order to guard ourselves and be ready for the next 10 years. Because I don't remember who said it, but you know, if these people are at the premier college campuses now, in 10 years from now, they're going to be in positions of power, and our children and our grandchildren and us, we're going to be the ones that are on the front lines. So thank you for being here. Thanks for being part of the answer, the antidote, the nechemta of this moment, which is to do what you're doing and to be proud and to wear your Magen David and to send your children out into the world educated and ready to do the sacred work of standing up for what's right. So thank you for being here tonight.